Hey, what's up, everyone? Dragon here with another edition of the Kaiju commentary. On this one, we are watching 1964's Dogora the Space Monster. As always, when you see the Toho logo appear on your screen, that is your cue to start listening to us. So we're going to kick things off in 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, everyone? Dragon here with Ashley. And we're doing another edition of the Kaiju commentary. Today we're watching 1964's Dogora the Space Monster. Or as what is it, Dogora, I think it's or Dogara. Or they changed the name, I know, in the dub because they didn't want people to
Think of a dog.
think of a dog. I'm not sure if that's the true story behind. I don't know, but that's what I've heard, which is kind of interesting.
Pretty good looking planet right there.
Yeah. So once again, another Toho film that does not feature Godzilla, which is we're going to start getting to that point in history now where that was becoming more of a rarity. We were going to start seeing less kind of standalone kaiju films,
Yeah.
and more, Godzilla film featuring, dot dot dot. There's going to be some pretty good, I'm not quite sure how they did, if it was like projections or. I want to say like how they, how you basically kind of see like the early forms of Dogora in space. It's kind of, or you see they're utilizing kind of like a effect you haven't really seen in any Toho films at that point anyway. Not really anyway. And this film does a lot of interesting things with the actual monster itself. When you actually see it, how they kind of bring it to life. That's like the compositing they do.
It's interesting. There we go. I was gonna say, what is it supposed to be? Like right there.
I'm not sure. It almost looks like a cell growing. That's like that was kind of always the.
Because it looked like it was almost like a gas, and then obviously the thing crashed into it.
I kind of always kind of maybe figured as kind of an amorphous blob, so to speak, and it's throughout
Attack the blob.
Yeah. Basically, kind of like as Dogger kind of consumes or absorbs material, like he kind of takes on more of a shape.
Kind of like Hedorah in a way.
A little
Without
bit.
Pollution.
Yeah. So again, yeah, obviously that's kind of a theme Toho would use with some of their more villainous monsters. This concept of like absorbing, consuming, taking in,
Yeah.
which is kind of an interesting way of destroying. It's rather than kind of an outward means of destruction. You're just kind of essentially kind of it's more a form of like a predation. So I don't know, but like I said, Dogger is
Well,
kind
it's
of
like a parasite.
yeah. Basically, we're just kind of just taking something in and giving nothing back. But yeah, no, it is interesting though because again, Dogora is not your traditional kaiju, both in form and function. Yet, there's something inherently I feel kind of terrifying about him. Or I say him, but really it's it.
Yeah.
But because quite honestly, I mean, if you really look at what Dogora's power is, pretty lady, he's kind of very apocalyptic in terms of just what he is and what he represents. And with every good Toho kaiju film, there's usually a subplot that kind of leads into the main plot.
Yeah.
Japan, probably the only place in the world where you can safely just be out at night in a hatchback.
And what year does this take place again?
1964. So we're starting.
Sure, their smoking laws weren't as strict back then.
I don't even think their smoking laws are strict now.
What's happening there? What sleep floating?
So
Is he even awake? Oh.
see, they're so polite in Japan that even when they like kind of leave the bar drunk at night, it's rather than stumbling around through the streets, they just kind of calmly float home. They're not bumping into anyone.
Huh.
Now we're starting to get a sense that a little something else going on.
Well.
It always fascinated me even as a kid how they would kind of like, juxtapose kind of these larger than life scenarios, something with like a giant monster, with something that that on its own could be its own movie, but when you put it up next to what's going on in the story, it feels so kind of mundane.
Well, I guess the space junk is inside her on.
Inside her? So...
Not inside her, but
Whoa.
like on the surface or whatever now.
Space junk is inside her.
That's not what I meant.
It's gonna be a tall kid.
Oh. Gross.
She gonna give birth to Monstars.
Monster.
Little Space Jam reference there for you folks.
Why is it making him float? This is like a music video right here. I kind of want a nice rock tune playing over it.
Obviously, by this point, if you've watched not only just these...
So wait, is this heist movie is the twist that the monster's the jewel thief?
The what now?
The jewel thief?
Yeah.
Like he's that's what he wants. He's not gonna destroy Earth. He just wants to steal your money and jewels.
They're jewels, Betty. They're jewels. He's gonna just blast away.
Jeez, they're not even hitting anything.
Well, no, it's a movie, so naturally they can't hit shit.
Damn. It's a lot of ice.
Right. But no, I was just saying it's always kind of interesting how they'll take kind of these... I mean, this could be a whole movie right here. Just, it's a movie about bank robbers and this and that. But then when you put it against a larger story...
Space bank robbers?
Space bank robbers.
That space junk. Best robber ever. He doesn't have a form. Or it doesn't have a form.
Well, he'll get a form later on. And oh boy, what a form.
I'm just a creeper. Just trying to peek on you.
I'm a cop, so that naturally gives me the right to, creep around in your foliage.
Yeah, just let me jump into your window.
I know, it's a little improper, I would say.
Definitely don't have a door I could go through.
Yeah. It's funny, it's interesting. I was reading, because I also watching the Japanese version. And, but I, and usually when they would do like American cuts of these films, in addition to dubbing them in English, they would often, what was that? They would, usually the running time would be different because they would make changes, they would remove certain scenes, they would sometimes replace them with other scenes.
Oh.
Speaking of Americans.
Oh. Yikes.
He's like so offended. He's like, man, the hell are these people in my house? But I'm just saying, if I'm not mistaken, this aired on television. It didn't come out in theaters, and
I like that he threw his shoes out.
it's like, does nobody use the front door? He's probably thinking, Jesus Christ, people, I've got a fucking door. But yeah, because obviously in America, films had to be kind of a certain length, and sometimes foreign films might exceed those lengths. Because a lot of times they would do these as kind of a double build, movies. But because it's aired on TV, if I'm not mistaken, I heard that aside from just the dubbing, nothing else was changed.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same running time. I know they changed the title card in the very beginning, so I know it might have affected the length of the movie by like a couple minutes or something. But as far as I know, that, yeah, if you watch the American version of this film, again, aside from it being dubbed in English, it's the same film, which is, in those days wasn't as common. It was not, I mean, not always, but it was not uncommon to have changes made to the movie. It's a nice host there. You basically just barge into his house, get your ass kicked by some white dude, and then he's just offering you booze.
I know, right? I'm just like, the dude didn't hit him that hard.
That's some good booze he's drinking, though. I gotta go back to Japan and get my ass kicked. Drink for free.
That's only if you climb through the window.
Oh, that's true. Like now, we're really kind of getting the 60s. You see like some of the women with like the awesome 60s hair.
Yeah, the kind of like bob.
Yeah.
But like the curl.
Still amazing just how like helmet like that it doesn't move.
I had a teacher in high school that had her hair like that every day, and it was like, it really was like a helmet. Like it moved, but it moved in like uniform movement.
It kind of moved on its own terms. So okay, I'm trying to figure out this guy's outfit here. It looks like a suit,
But with short sleeves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
was just thinking that.
All right, like, cause I'm kind of confused by his look here.
Maybe he's trying to be a trendsetter. Don't hate on him.
Well, this is '64, and I've never seen anything like that. I don't think the trend got very far.
Nope. It started and ended with him.
I don't know if I mentioned this already before, but yeah, if you watch these films, you'll notice, like, reoccurring casts.
Mm.
Especially in this period, like in the 60s, like Toho kind of had like a small but, good acting pool so these character actors kind of kept popping up in all like the Toho films. You'll see obviously a lot of them in the Godzilla films.
He's like... He looks like a Japanese Sean Connery right there. Like,
oh man, he does.
It? Like,
yeah, he's got that look.
I think it's just the way his like hair and everything happens to look.
Kind of just out of the Bond era.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking.
Because it seems like Sean Connery was basically like he was Bond and then he just became old. Like I've never seen like an in between Sean Connery. I've always seen like he's James Bond. And then he's like some wise old sage for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, the scientist in this film is going to be used in a slightly different capacity than you'd see in other films. Usually the scientists you see in these kaiju films, they're kind of directly... Their field of study or their interest is directly linked to the kaiju itself. Where here, it's more of a roundabout way. It's a guy, who works with, like precious stones and things like that. And because it's going to be, Dogora's kind of
That's the thing.
need.
Is he a jeweler or is he a geologist then?
Well, I think he's like a geologist, but he like
gemologist. If
Oh.
it's a gemstone, is he a crystal gem?
Is he a crystal gem? Is he a big fan of Gem and the holograms?
Oh man!
Wow, I'm taking it old school.
Actually, technically, it's a new school for these guys.
Oh yeah, this would have happened yet. Wow. I was gonna say normally I feel old, but I got younged up real quick. Damn, I got my second win in life. But no, it's interesting because again, it's not his study of the creature, but rather the creature's kind of need or hunger for, what it is he studies. So he becomes kind of indirectly linked to it and can kind of indirectly help them. I think it's interesting because usually it'd be like, oh, it's a biologist or some kind of thing like a paleontologist. Sometimes in the Godzilla films, but.
Mm-mm. Wow.
Everyone uses that move. Damn.
Well.
He's holding his hands.
Mm-hmm. She took her gloves off. Maybe that's why he's got that fashionable outfit like that. Is because he likes to wear those like gloves, elbow gloves, and that way he can show them off.
Yeah,
She
but
has
still,
some.
but you're still seeing part of the upper arm.
You know what? Maybe that's how he likes it.
Whoa. Yeah, that's how it works.
Wait, did he just like? Was that a slap or was that like a weird open?
It was like
Figure
it was like
jab.
a forward jab chop. I think is that like the?
It just looked like he punched him with the tips of his fingers. So it's not really a jab.
Is this got a Kill Bill move or something? His heart like explode in his chest like 30 seconds later or whatever that move was. Okay, so do they like walk?
I was gonna say.
What I'm saying, it was like a delayed reaction kind of thing where it's like,
I was expecting to see the guy holding up behind him.
Yeah. Something you don't see every day in like especially in Toho film is kind of a more industrial. I mean, you'll sometimes see it when it's like the miniature work when the monsters like stomping through. But I think it's kind of cool, like some of the location shooting, because again, Toho, you can always tell when they're putting money in a production when you can look at like how much location shots there are, because obviously it's much cheaper and easier to shoot in a set. And granted that you have to do that a lot too with monster destruction scenes, but location shooting is always can be a bit of a pain sometimes depending on the situation because there's so many variables and elements that you're not necessarily always in control of, whereas when you're on a set, and especially nowadays now when there's so much digital work in films and you can green screen, you can effectively create the entire environment. Hell, you can even create the characters, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes with CGI, it's more of animation really.
Well,
Which is it's essentially
motion capture and
Yeah.
animation.
But even to this day, location shooting is something that requires more thought process. That's something that hasn't changed. So even now, when you see a movie with a lot of location shooting, you know that it's a production that's been given a lot of care and thought and money. And this was true even back then. I like how cool you switch over to a model shot. That's when in these these films, these tokusatsu films,
It's about to go
down.
down.
When it goes from a practical location to a model shot, like, oh, something's gonna happen. Yeah, this film has got really good production value though, and I liked all the different sound. Like the music is very kind of has almost kind of a. There's almost kind of a manic quality to the sound. But, and technically what we're seeing right here is the first, kaiju attack really in the film. and it's, not your classic, monster in the background stomping through a model that's, superimposed.
I like how they did that sky. That was cool.
Yeah. Again, this film is using a lot of really interesting production techniques that we haven't seen in a Toho film yet.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure we've seen it in a kaiju film yet. But again, Toho is always kind of on the forefront of like trying new film techniques, trying new ways to kind of bring the monsters to life. Because this is to be done in water right there, right?
I would think so, yeah.
I think it's gonna say when they kind of
That's how they used to do all like clouds and skies, anyways. But yeah, that looked like it.
Like the Neverending Story. If you guys ever watched that movie, like all those big, beautiful skies they had in that movie. Yeah, it was always like kind of like just different things they would put in water, and it would give it kind of almost like that cloud-like appearance.
Mm-hmm.
But I like how they're using it here. It's almost. And I like the concept, too, of, essentially a kaiju kind of, in theory, being able to just, not even really, kind of drop down from the sky. Not just as something that flies around, because we've had that with Mothra and Rodan, even Varen to an extent.
I was going to say, he's a space monster. He's literally, like, coming into the atmosphere from outside.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of scary, the idea that something that can just come down and pluck something up. It's
again, it's basically a UFO, but not.
But a living thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think of almost like the reverse of like the graboids from Tremors, where the ground beneath you is kind of the threat, whereas here it's kind of the sky. It's like in theory, Dogora can kind of descend, if you will, and it almost gives it this kind of godlike quality to it.
Yeah,
it's a different way for a kaiju to attack. And again, in a different way for an aerial kaiju to attack. Because essentially Dogora lives in the sky as opposed to like something that just takes wing and flies around. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That's a big-ass hotel room, especially for Japan.
I know. Like that window alone is really big.
I think... Spider-Man. Was he still like in a karate chop? What is that? That is like everyone's move, man. It's just like broken and ripped off legs.
I'm kind of weirded out that they even went so far as to put like the ankles with like socks or towels and socks.
Well, what was the point of doing all that if you're just gonna...
Yeah. You just should be glad I didn't come in your window.
Wait. What? And also, this, again, you would sometimes see Western actors appear in some of these older films. I mean, this is one of the few where, this is a character throughout the entire film, like a main cast member. Sometimes they would have usually foreign press or things like that, and they would have, like, a Western actor, in a role. But this is one of the few where you actually have, one of the main characters is from the West.
Mm-hmm.
So what? You're just gonna shoot in the air? You're like, wait, don't move, or else I'll shoot you, right? Why did you need to shoot it in the air to prove to him that you would shoot? Not to mention,
did he just get locked in the room?
I guess it was a small caliber gun, because I was thinking, well, if you just kind of shoot it up, couldn't he run the risk of going in the room above you? But
That's what I was gonna say. He just wanted to be an asshole to the hotel staff.
yeah, I was gonna say, although I don't think that pea shooter would have gotten much traction. But yeah, it is interesting that what is normally be like the B story in these films is, for a good chunk of the film, really is kind of at the forefront. It's kind of the,
Yeah.
it's what we're legit following. The kaiju plot is kind of it's there and it's definitely building up, but right now it's very much in the background. It's something that's kind of meant to more feel like, oh, there's something up, there's something going on. It's almost playing more like a creature feature in that sense, where people aren't necessarily dying, but like there's events and little things happening that's kind of tipping people off that there's something going on.
Yeah.
But right now, this story is kind of at the the forefront of the film, which depending on your view, I guess, could be good or bad.
Yeah. Mm.
I'm kind of wondering too, because I know Japan is essentially one of the safest countries in the world. I mean, obviously, no matter where you go, you're going to find problems.
What the fuck? Why does
just
she look like roadkill?
they just drive over anyway. Not a problem. Don't get involved. But I'm just wondering too, for like Japanese eyes, especially like in '64, would seeing something like that, like the bank robbers, would that to them have been maybe more of a fantastical element? Not like fantasy fantastical, but more, you know what I mean? Like more like an ooh and ah kind of thing, because for them it's so much more removed from their society as opposed to us evil jaded bastards in the West, where we just assume everyone's bad and out to get us. See, why do they thrust their arms forward when they shoot the gun? Like,
I don't know. I was trying to figure that out.
It's like doesn't throw
it's
the
like
bullet.
They think their arm has to be at 90 degrees too. Have you noticed that?
Unless is that trying to compensate for a recoil?
I don't know.
Is
that guy trying to be a Ghostbuster?
What?
Didn't you see his pack?
Oh, yeah,
Like the tanks?
it was for like a blowtorch or...
No, I know, but it looked like okay.
It wasn't a proton pack, sweetie.
Maybe it was a prototype proton pack.
A prototype.
Proton pack.
Wow.
Okay.
We're crossing some lines here.
Just not the streams.
Just not the
Oh.
Well played.
Thank God that trunk fit in our trunk.
Thank God that trunk wasn't actually as heavy as it looked.
I know.
I like how... Shouldn't he be hiding behind his door?
I would think.
Like, he's like... And these guys, where are they getting their cover from? Like...
Luck.
Because
nobody can aim?
If you aim for, like, literally everything below the brim of his hat, you'll hit him. Like, look at him. He was, like, not even hiding behind the door.
Oh my God.
These guys just suck.
Wait, what's on the gas pedal? How does it work?
Hopes and dreams.
I guess so.
Woo!
I don't... Oh. Okay.
Again, it's just really interesting.
So wait, was that a coal truck? Because if so, I'm kind of sensing a theme. Because isn't it like true, if you put enough pressure, coal becomes diamond?
Yes. It takes a massive amount of pressure.
Well,
though.
I know, but I'm like, okay, obviously it went after diamonds. Yeah, it's going after coal. I guess it has...
Well, again, the thing, essentially, Dogora is, obviously it's feeding off elements, and again, it's one of those times where, usually kaiju films, it's kind of implied what the kaiju are after, and sometimes you don't even get that much. Obviously, with Godzilla at times, it's implied that he's attracted, drawn to, or looking for kind of nuclear radiation. But in this case, in this film, you're going to see it's going to be a very clear motive for what the monster is doing and why. And again, I like how it's tying into this otherwise just kind of...
it was cool.
Yeah. This otherwise kind of mundane, just kind of crime story. But it's interesting how they're able to kind of tie something so small into something so large, no pun intended. Kind of funny too how the press here is I don't want to say sleazy, but usually in these films the press is kind of treated as very kind of virtuistic, which I kind of feel this is a bit more of like the cliche or the stereotype of like just the story hungry reporters who just want to get the story at all costs. Even though, to be fair, that's how we get. I've never understood why that's such a bad thing, because that's how we get our news.
Yeah.
Like, if reporters weren't that committed, we really wouldn't be as well informed.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just kind of interesting, but I mean, Toho has always been kind of good at kind of, casting a positive light on, like, reporters, and they're kind of showing them more for that. So when you kind of see little, situations like that where, they kind of have that more sleazy or they're kind of, interpreted that way, it's a little different. But again, this film does do some things different. It definitely does stand out. It seems like Toho was really experimenting with like not just the nature of the monster itself, but how it looked, how they brought it, how they created it on screen, the types of characters they're using, portrayals of character types.
It's kind of interesting that they're having a white guy be basically one of the lead roles.
Well, that's my point.
Even though I'm kind of like, it's kind of like half and half. I'm like, he's not quite a good guy, but he's not quite a bad guy altogether.
Well, yeah, they're not just portraying him as like just some outsider that's bad. And that's the thing. This movie is kind of it's definitely. But again, I think that's Toho when they realized that kaiju films were a lucrative business, and other studios, were starting to kind of, I mean, we've yet to get Gamera, but Gamera's coming very, very soon, and I suspect that Toho had had heard, rumblings that there wasn't, pretty soon they were going to be the only studio producing these kinds of films. I mean, obviously we talked about Aegon.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, the chokehold they immediately put on that series when they came out, or when it was going to come out, because they thought, oh, wait a minute, this is basically Godzilla. But I think they also maybe sense too that, if this is going to become a big thing, and they can't, stop every other production from every other kind of production company from making kaiju films, so they had to kind of realize, okay, if other people are going to do these kinds of movies, we need to then do these kinds of movies better than anybody else. So even if we're not the only ones, we're the best at it. And I think that's one of the reasons why they not just experimented, but employed different special effects techniques, as well as approaching the stories differently. They're not just always the same kind of beat. I mean, to be fair, later on towards the end of the show era, you did kind of run into that a little bit. But at least still here, they were really trying to expand upon what a kaiju film could be, what you could do with it, what the monster could be like, what the monster could represent, as well as kind of the characters, like what they could be like, what they could do, where they're from, even, what I mean? A little dangerous to be doing that right in the office.
Yeah, I also think it'd be easier just to take it off at the hinges.
You clearly don't rob banks for a living.
They open it. It's just like rice or something.
Take that, capitalism. Oh god. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Look at that. Oh.
What is
Start
that?
shoving it down his face.
That reaction. Hey, at least now they got some nice rock candy.
It's also interesting here too how these guys are kind of investigating what's going on, these strange events and phenomena. But if you really look at a lot of them, very few of these people really have any business to be studied. You would think, where's the military right now? Where's the scientists? It's kind of interesting. Now you have like kind of the cop. I mean, again, and the one scientist that we have here again, like I said before, he's ends up kind of learning about the monster and helping them out, kind of in a roundabout way, which.
Yeah.
Again, I think was Toho's intention, because you can't always maybe necessarily have like the scientist who's just this just happens to be my exact field of study. You know what I mean? Granted, I'm sure someone like to be brought on, but it's kind of interesting to see it approached by because I think a lot of people maybe not everyone, but there might be a bit of a sometimes generalization with science. Like, oh, you're a scientist, well, you must be an expert at anything and everything, so I can bring any kind of thing to you and you'll understand it. Well, no, I mean, there's different fields of study, obviously, so it's kind of interesting to see a scientist who's not like a zoologist or a biologist, helping basically them understand what this creature is, through his field of study, which is indirectly connected to it. Because of...
More people lurking in the bushes.
I know, that's like a thing.
So rude. Jeez. Oh. Space junk! That's what they should have called this movie.
Space junk?
Invasion of the Space Junk.
That just sounds like something else.
Yep.
I'm glad that fact was not lost on you. Again, it is interesting because right now it doesn't really necessarily feel like a kaiju movie.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you kind of see what this all builds up, when you understand how Dogora kind of can break himself down to almost like parts, and it allows him to kind of move down to a more personal level, where sometimes a lot of times really kaiju are, because they're so big and removed that they don't really have that kind of personal touch with people.
How did they come up with his name?
I'm not positive. Again, it's going to be a lot of... It's funny because in Rodan there was a lot of countryside location shooting, so you really kind of got like a nice kind of image of like rural Japan. Whereas in this film, you see a lot of different location shooting, but more urban sprawls.
Yeah.
So it has a much more kind of a... like Rodan had a very kind of picturesque look to it. Whereas this film, while it looks, don't get me wrong, this film looks really good, but it has definitely shows you kind of a different visual side to Japan. Because again, when we were there, it's amazing like how industrialized and built up Japan is, and then when you leave the cities, it's so beautiful and pristine. Like the cities are very much these encapsulated places.
Hell, even if you go into one of the parks, because the parks are usually really big. So.
Yeah. again, like, everything is very compartmentalized.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're starting to get, like, the breadcrumbs, if you were, are starting to kind of make more sense. We're starting to come together, and you're starting to realize, you know, what the monster might be after.
Hmm.
He's just barging in on their little...
Whoa. Why did she just come from
I
that
know, she's
angle?
just kind of sprung up like, hey.
Where's that hand?
Now, you would know this better than me, and this is always something I was kind of curious about. Now, you said it's not common in Japan for women to wear lots of makeup, correct? I mean, you wear makeup, but not, like, heavy amounts.
No, I wasn't saying that. They wear makeup, but it's not the same style of makeup that, like, Westerners wear. Like, they go for usually more... I mean, this is an overall. I mean, I'm speaking primarily based on YouTube, you know, makeup. Like,
Well,
Asian
there you go,
Americans
folks.
that live... Asian American YouTube stars, like Michelle Phan, I don't think she did one, but there was another one I was watching, and she specifically was doing one that was East versus Western makeup. And I mean, granted, that was just, you know, daily use, so obviously I'm not speaking overall all the time. But yeah.
For someone like her, because right away, like, her appearance is very kind of striking.
Yeah. Like, they don't really do that. They usually go for more of a kind of young, kind of like fresh face, not super done up look.
So, I mean, granted, I know this is different time period, but would a woman like this, yeah, with like that kind of more like, again, I know I've already used the word striking, but kind of, you know, more, I guess, obvious, if you will. There's some great location shots right here. Shows you how much the cities have changed too.
Yeah.
But it's so someone like her, she would stand out. You were saying.
I would think so, yeah. But again, it's like, I mean, she does stand out clearly. Like, even looking at the other woman, I forgot her name. Yeah, her. Like, you know, she's got makeup on, but it's not nearly as much.
Again, I was just curious. I know it might sound like a weird thing to talk about in the commentary.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, too, as Westerners, when we sometimes watch these films, there are certain things that are sometimes necessarily meant to be kind of jarring. Not jarring, but I don't want to say shocking either. I don't think it's shocking. But things that are meant to make someone stand out, that to our eyes, it doesn't necessarily stand out. But to, you know, people of that country, they would automatically kind of recognize that character as, you know, someone who is not of the norm. You know, whereas, you know, in America or even just the West in general, it's not uncommon to see women who put makeup on with, like, you know, like roll-on brushes that you normally use to paint the broadside of a house.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things, too. I mean, I don't know a ton of movies, you know, from the time, but I can think of a few, like American movies or Hollywood movies where, you know, the lead females did have a lot of makeup, that kind of stuff. So I wonder if it was also just, you know, to kind of look maybe similar to, like,
kind of have more of that kind of that classic kind of Hollywood feel.
I mean, again, that makeup's sexy, and it makes her look dark and mysterious, and I'm sure that's really
what I mean, what too, because technically she's a villain. You know,
Yeah.
she's kind of, you know, part of a jewel, you know, robbing heist team. So it kind of maybe makes her more, you know, it gives her more of an edge.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like, again, see a character like that, especially nowadays in movies, it's kind of like how they're tracking him now in the sky. Almost kind of the way they would sometimes track Godzilla by sonar in the water.
Yeah.
Because for well, in a weird way, Dogora is kind of, especially we're going to see what he looks like. He kind of uses the sky the way Godzilla uses the ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He can hide up in there. He can move around through it. It's kind of it's an interesting take. It's kind of using the same approach, but in a very different capacity, kind of an unorthodox capacity.
Yeah.
Because I think about it, I mean, it's, when you're an island nation, what's the best way to hide a monster? Well, you're an island nation, you're surrounded by water, have it be in the water, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting that they're using the sky for that. Again, Rodan did it to some degree. But Rodan was still something that had to go up into the sky, move around, and then come back down. Whereas Dogora, the sky is his world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Him coming down, or it coming down, really should say it. It coming down is kind of like, us going up.
Why does it sound like a weird dolphin? Oh.
Yeah, I like the use of sound in this film too. It creates a lot of good atmosphere.
I was just gonna say, why does this sound like... So you're gonna...
Yeah, there's a lot of really good compositing work in this film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good for the time period, obviously, yes, I know it doesn't look, complete photorealistic, but for 1964, I mean...
Yeah.
Again, and I like how Toho's implementing different, effects techniques. And some of these techniques will go on to be used for, several decades later. It wasn't that this stuff became obsolete really quick. I mean, again, like I said, I think it really wasn't until we really entered the digital era where you kind of saw, and even then it was still a bit of a carryover, but it was a while before you really saw a clean break from kind of old and new. Now everything is digital. You can use digital technology to do anything, whereas back then, in this time period, you had to implement, a scene that required something happening might require 3 or 4 different kinds of, visual
Is that
effects.
supposed to be the coal falling back down?
I'm not sure.
So you just turding on Japan?
Just
Turding on Tokyo. It's the real name of this movie.
turning on Tokyo. I love nice shots of Japan.
So they're just not going to address what happened?
We're just gonna...
Just had giant stones fall. It's fine.
We're just gonna...
Fine.
Keep on, keep it on.
Mm.
Yeah, this won't look suspicious at all.
I know.
But yeah, again, I feel other Toho films by this point would have kind of, what I call the A story, would have kind of really kicked in by now. But again, it does feel like this is more about what the movie's about and how it's going to kind of inadvertently link itself to, the bigger issue at hand. Which which is kind of a bit of a gamble, I would say, for the studio, because again, up to this point, really, I mean, kaiju films have kind of, while varying to certain degrees, they've all kind of, stuck to certain status quos. I mean, but if you really think about it, we really have seen really nothing of Dogora yet. We have a few abstract elements of him. Just, why are you guys always assaulting each other?
I don't know.
Karate chopping and throwing each other. It's like, geez. A lot of sexual tension here.
The fucking window?
Seriously,
okay, it's a door.
Yeah, but what is with people and like not using front doors in this movie?
Oh.
Yeah.
So that is actually how he got in. I was gonna say, like, is he even allowed to barge in like that? Like, I know he's a cop, but still.
Just dropping in. Oh.
I'm just, going through every hotel room tonight, making sure everyone's safe.
It's funny, we were saying how people are just not going to talk about it, but again, kind of like with Godzilla Raids again, where it seemed like people were just kind of, I mean, there's a few scenes again where people were a little too just uppity about, when, what just happened, but as the film progressed, it seemed like the people weren't really focusing on what happened, and they were kind of just, quote unquote, moving on with their lives a little bit too much or too fast.
Yeah.
But you forget they weren't, the military, they weren't scientists, so for them it was...
Yeah.
Whereas here, again, these aren't necessarily the people at ground zero in terms of, like, interest. And here we go.
Oh.
Getting our first look at good look at Dogora. I love how he just kind of, almost...
That's really cool.
Yep. I'm assuming this is filmed in water.
That's what it looks like.
And but it gives him the illusion like it's almost like this jellyfish-like creature that just kind of moves through the sky the way jellyfish would move through water.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again Toho employing a different film technique.
But that's the thing. So is the space junk from him still? Like, is he technically? Like, did the space junk become this, or was that a separate thing? You know what I mean?
Well, it's definitely a part of him, from what I'm gathering, or what I've always gathered, I should say. That looks really cool. It's a different looking kaiju.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely looks cool.
And it's also
when you showed me the cover, I thought it was going to be like a complete effect. I didn't like a drawn effect almost, or how they did like Godzilla's atomic breath, when they stopped doing it with steam and water or whatever.
Yeah, that'll be coming up soon.
Yeah, well, I thought that was, like, again, based on the cover, it was going to be like that, where it was completely that kind of effect.
But look how big he is.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Kind of make him quite possibly the largest kaiju ever. If you
if you were on the ground, he would take up most of the sky.
Well, that's my point. I mean, if you consider his size, the fact that he just drops down out of the sky and just takes things, it's like, I mean, the fact that he can just he just pull up, he's almost creating, like, weather disturbances, essentially.
I was going to say, it's almost like a tornado or a hurricane. It's just he's funneling everything up with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, how destructive he is. I mean, in a lot of ways, he can even do more damage than Godzilla because of the way he can just hover over a city. Again, I like the fact that we're still seeing a large variation in what kaiju can look like. It's still not just the anthropomorphic guy in a suit look. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not to that era yet. Toho was still, really trying to expand upon the nature of what a kaiju could be, what it could look like, what its function was. Okay, this looks really cool.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
Yep. Kind of here using more like cell shaded animation techniques.
Yeah. And it's ironically animated really well.
Yeah. Look at that. Just took a giant bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Like lifted it right off the ground. I mean, it just shows you how.
Easy peasy.
But that's what I'm saying. Even Godzilla couldn't do that. I mean, Godzilla could just bust through it, obviously, but still. And it just shows you how massive Dogora is.
And that's the thing. Technically, he'd be so high up in the sky, I don't think that artillery would even reach him. Would it? Like, I guess maybe, but...
I'm not sure.
Even though I'm kind of like, the force of him doing that, wouldn't it create wind and, like, take out half the freaking city right there, too?
You mean like Rodan?
Kind of. I mean, if he's like...
Well, I get the sense that he's more kind of just gliding around, whereas Rodan was like really using strong, powered flight. I like how they composite the explosions. Yeah.
Like, explosion effect was really cool.
But yeah, no, I definitely like the idea of how he can just kind of just drop from the sky. Again, it's using, like I said, using the sky as like an ocean, basically, which is
Smart.
yeah, and it's kind of an interesting little nod to the fact that okay, you would think obviously again having something attack from the ocean is the more obvious route to go, being that it's Japan. So I like how they got creative and really played with the idea, okay, even though we're an island nation, what are other ways we could be attacked, so to speak? And obviously another way to get to an island, if you're not going to go by sea, you go by air. And I basically I like, again, how Dogora essentially is just controlling the skies.
Yeah. What is that?
It's Dogora being able to break down. And again, I like how Dogora can kind of change shape, change form. He's not beholden to one thing, which again...
Oh, so that's just all the little, like, space junk forms?
I believe so, yeah. I think you call it space junk. Space junk forms. That looks cool right there.
I was singing it in my head, but I was trying to refrain. I wish I did now. I like that, is that wallpaper? Or tile? I don't know, but it's
I know. But yeah, no. It isn't. It is because again, one thing I would be curious to see right now though is like, all right, what are they doing to track, or like how are they able to kind of again, is Dogora always like a one form when he's in the sky? Does he break down? It's kind of a his range of mobility, it makes him very dangerous. And again, probably one of the most dangerous kaiju because again, he's not really beholden to one area or one shape, so to speak.
Yeah.
And again, and I like when these films kind of play around with even the very kind of physical properties of the monsters. And I also like seeing kind of like more traditional monsters kind of sometimes have to go up against a monster like that. I'm kind of bummed that Dogora we didn't see more of him.
Yeah.
It would have been kind of but then again, I think a monster is kind of hard to write because you're limited to what you can do with it on screen, but at the same time, what it is and what it represents is so vast. You always have to have the
Classic scene.
the convoy shots.
See that intense flag twirler in the background?
Again, showing how to use how the self-defense force is always kind of again put into action. Again, this is the proper use of like military of any kind of film. Again, it's we get a plan, we need to put into action. And again, I always feel like this is kind of playing the military to their strengths as opposed to just trying to lean the whole film just on them, which we have seen in the past with like kaiju films sometimes, or not in the past, like I should say the future more than anything, but
at least he took the door this time.
I know, right?
Even though he opened it then knocked, I'm kind of like, you almost had it. Almost.
We're getting there. We're making progress.
Man, nobody knows how to knock.
I love how everyone always wears sunglasses. A, it doesn't hide your face.
Yeah.
B, it just makes you more conspicuous. Jeez.
I guess he could have shot his hand, so he's lucky.
And again, it's just so funny. We just saw literally probably one of the largest kaiju ever seen on screen come down from the sky and literally just pick up a whole bridge. And now we're with guys who are trying to get diamonds. That's cool. Again, I like the atmospheric quality Dogora has.
You know, I would think if you had this giant space monster attacking all these coal plants, maybe you should shut down the coal plants while it's, still out there.
There you go. Just applying logic. Like, we've talked about this.
It Looks like he could just break out of those handcuffs.
Yeah.
That guy, he is not... I know they're like bad guys, but that's a bit much to light the dynamite. And it's like one of those classic scenes where the string is so freaking long that's just gonna burn the whole way.
Like Looney Tunes style.
Yeah, basically.
Well, that's what makes it fun.
Well, also, I'm just like... I know they're bad guys, but I'm like... If you're gonna blow up dynamite in a hotel room, think of all the other people you're gonna, like, hurt.
Well, I guess this makes them bad guys. As opposed... You want your bad guys to be more considerate
if
than
he could have slid out like that any time, why didn't he? See, they're not very good bad guys. They couldn't even tie him up proper.
They wanted to give him a sporting chance.
A little bit. A little bit of a chance.
Like, listen, we're going to try to kill you, but, we don't want to be dicks about it.
Jesus Christ, dude. Stop fumbling. I know you're tied up, but... He just shoots him in the head. Oh. I don't think I would trust him when he's... Yeah. That's like the worst idea you could possibly have.
I'm sure it's fine.
He literally had no way of aiming.
Listen. I'm sure it's fine.
Just throw it on the balcony. It's fine. It's fine.
Again, they always say these elaborate ways of trying to, like, kill the good guys. I'm just like, just shoot them.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it almost feels like Dogger almost feels like a storm.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of cool because it's like, how do you fight a storm? You know what I mean? And I always say kaiju movies are basically natural disaster movies. Just except now the disaster is coming from like an actual living thing. But Dogger almost plays more like he is just a traditional natural disaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's also, in terms of budget, too, it's a great way to kind of have a monster on screen without really having a monster on screen. You know what I mean? Because obviously this film is spending a lot of money elsewhere, too.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. These shots are clearly just, reverse shots, so...
But they work.
Well, yeah.
And it's just kind of it's like, because right now we're seeing the monster fight. But it's not your traditional, monster fight. That makes it really interesting.
Well, again, it doesn't seem like there really is a way to fight him. It's just kind of...
Which is what makes him so, dangerous.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice shot right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to...
She just dives into the ocean, becomes a mermaid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well then,
Even though I'm kind of like, where is she going? Unless she's got like a boat. Did she just drop her bag of diamonds?
Don't do that. Oh.
Jeez. Freaking KO. Oh, see, you should have taken your shoes off to begin with.
Where did they come from?
How?
He just rose up out of the ground.
Well, maybe they used her own trick against her. She did that to the other guy before.
It's like a random battle. It's like when your RPG random battle.
But seriously,
You're not leveled up enough. Ow.
Oh. Double slap.
Jeez. That's sound too. It was like wet spam being thrown against the wall.
Ew.
I never understood when they do stuff like that. We're gonna kill you, but do what we say first. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna die, then kiss my ass.
I know. We're gonna give you a chance to get away, but too much of a chance.
This guy. Hey, don't worry about murdering them.
Well, I'm just kind of like, how did they all know for sure this is where they would be? You know what I mean?
Spider sense.
Everybody just felt like having a beach day. Oh my god.
That's not how you stop, guys.
At least it looks like they're trying to at least aim this time. They're not just like holding it in front of them and
actually hide behind
hoping.
cover this time.
Yeah.
But you never see them reload.
Of course not. Magic guns.
Jesus.
Good thing that one didn't go off the same time. Oh my god, seriously, now that you mention it, yeah. There's got like 1,000,000 bullets.
The hell is that? Everyone have grenades?
The dynamite from before?
Oh yeah. Just seems like a. I don't know if I'd want to grab onto any of that.
No.
Now, again, it is interesting because you're getting resolution with like these characters that we've been following, but at the same time, though,
I like that they're helping her up. Oh, we don't want you to die. We need to kill you.
I was gonna say, well, no one can kill you but us.
Basically.
Again, this is cool, but I kind of feel like maybe this should have happened earlier in the film.
Taking that out? Look, that shooting just now.
Oh,
Right in the booty? Maybe not. The hell is that?
It's kind of interesting too because I keep saying it's interesting. This is kind of interesting. This is interesting. That is interesting. But in this case, it's okay. You have a woman who was killed. I granted, I know she was a bad guy, I guess, even though she seemed like she was the lesser of all those other evils. But still, it's like okay, well, usually in these films, in the West, the woman was kind of a damsel in distress, and in a lot of these films, the women were kind of more proactive characters. But it's kind of interesting that in this one, it's the woman that gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my point. Right now, this is the kind of the stuff I feel at this point in the movie we should be focusing solely on.
What the fuck is that?
Something awesome. Again, I feel like kind of having that whole shootout thing. While yes, again, I understand it's kind of resolution to the character. I kind of feel like at this point in the film, I really don't care too much about that.
Yeah.
I'm far more interested in what's going on right here. So I think that would have been better suited if it came a little bit earlier in the film. Because by this point, I think it needs to be just about Dogora and what we're doing, to deal with him. I keep saying him. Or them, maybe I should even say now.
They just write in the sky, please stop.
Like now they're you can tell they're using literal floating props.
Yeah. It looks good though.
I know some people might be thinking right at this point, okay, is this still considered a kaiju film now at this point if it's just, crystals?
Wait, so is he a stone? Then technically?
Well, again, I think they're all alive, basically, so when they die, they kind of become like inert. Again, it's interesting. I said it again. It's like a drink. You guys ever play a drinking game? Take a shot every time I say it's interesting.
Jesus.
You'll be dead of blood alcohol poisoning like half hour into this.
So that's what was happening before then, too.
It's like inert components. But I like how Dogora is kind of everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yeah.
And I really love the music.
It's so weird.
It has a little bit of a classic Hollywood kind of, monster movie feel to it. Look at this point, Dogora is lethal just by,
Yeah.
it's been reduced to falling debris. It makes you wonder, like, do they spend so much money everywhere else that that's now their monster? Just, let's rain some props down in the frame.
I mean, it would be really scary if this actually was happening.
Well, that's my point, though.
Like, 'cause
Again,
some of these are like huge.
but that's what I'm saying. It's
But
a kaiju that has kind of abandoned any and all sense of what it means to be a kaiju in terms of physical form. It's a very kind of well, kids.
Womp
I'm sure they're fine.
womp.
Like I said, it's Toho is really, you can see, experimenting with what they can do with this genre at this point.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Damn it! Take another drink. Which is cool. Because, or funny I should say, because obviously, eventually it would just become predominantly just Godzilla. And most of the monsters would just kind of adopt that same kind of silhouette, that anthropomorphic, upright.
Like humanoid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think also it's cheaper, it's easier, and it's a more easily comprehensible visual.
Well, I was gonna say, I think it's one of those things too where it kind of became the norm and expected, you know what I mean? Not to say whether that's a bad or good thing, but I just think it's kind of what it was.
Well, again, as these films became increasingly meant more for children, I feel something like this would probably go over a child's head, because you don't really have that visual of a giant monster stomping through a city. I mean, I definitely would say this would be a film that plays far, way better to adults than kids. But obviously, kids begin to make up a big part of the market. So,
Yeah.
guys in suits it became. But again, it led to some great movies. All of which we will be doing commentaries for. remember when it was going to the airport was this easy?
Right.
And again, it's kind of also kind of an unconventional like buddy pairing too.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I keep saying it, but this film really, it really played against kind of, I think, expectations for how these movies are supposed to kind of play out. And like I said, I mean, Toho had been experimenting with different ways of, telling you stories, techniques, but this film really feels like they just went for it. They're like,
Yeah.
let's just try everything that we've ever wanted to kind of try with this, and I dig that about it. It definitely stands out. It's a kaiju film that is kind of unlike any other. But anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for this one. So we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.